In 1985, dinner came with a deadline. Pizza Hut ruled the table until Domino's made one dangerous promise: speed versus tradition, taste versus time. The 30-minute war, October 10th, 1985.
In 1970s America, two pizza companies stood at opposite ends of a philosophical divide about how Americans should eat, live, and spend their time. One believed in the ritual of dining, families gathering around tables, sharing meals in comfortable restaurants with red roofs and checkered tablecloths. The other believed in speed, convenience, and delivery, bringing food to wherever people were, as fast as physically possible. This wasn't just a business competition. It was a battle over the future of American culture itself. And the weapon that would define this war was a simple promise: 30 minutes or your pizza is free. The story of Pizza Hut versus Domino's is the story of modern America, our obsession with speed, our changing family structures, our evolving relationship with food and time. It's a tale of brilliant innovation and tragic consequences, of marketing genius and operational excellence, of lawsuits and legacy. It's about how two companies fought so fiercely that they changed not just their own industry, but the entire landscape of American business. This is the story of the 30-minute war. Chapter 1: The Kingdom of the Red Roof. Pizza Hut didn't start as an empire. It started as a gamble by two college students who borrowed $600 from their mother. In 1958, Dan and Frank Carney were students at Wichita State University in Kansas when a family friend suggested they open a pizza parlor. Pizza was still exotic in the Midwest. Most Americans had never tasted it. The Carneys knew almost nothing about making pizza, but they were young and ambitious. They rented a small building on a busy street, bought some used equipment, and taught themselves the basics of dough, sauce, and cheese. The name Pizza Hut came from necessity rather than creativity. Their sign could only accommodate 9 letters, and their building, with its distinctive sloped roof, looked like a hut. It was simple, memorable, and slightly silly, perfect for a casual restaurant trying to make ethnic food feel approachable to nervous Midwestern customers. That first Pizza Hut succeeded beyond expectations. Within a year, the Carneys opened a second location, then a third. They began franchising, and the concept spread rapidly across America. By the mid-1960s, Pizza Hut was becoming a national brand, and by the early 1970s, it was the undisputed king of American pizza. What made Pizza Hut successful wasn't just their pizza, it was their entire concept. They weren't selling food as much as selling an experience. Walk into any Pizza Hut in America, and you'd find the same atmosphere. Dim lighting, comfortable booths, that distinctive red roof visible from the highway, and the smell of baking pizza filling the air. It was casual enough to be affordable but nice enough to feel special. Pizza Hut became woven into the fabric of American childhood in the 1970s and early 1980s. Kids celebrated birthdays there, sitting around tables with paper crowns on their heads, blowing out candles on ice cream cakes. The restaurant had arcade games in the corner, Pac-Man, Donkey Kong, where children pumped quarters while waiting for their food. Teenagers went there on first dates, nervously sharing a medium pepperoni pizza and drinking Coke from red plastic cups. The company's success came from understanding American families. In the 1970s, most families still had traditional structures. One parent, usually the father, worked while the other, usually the mother, managed the home. Dinner time was sacred, a ritual when families came together. Going to Pizza Hut was a treat, an event, something you planned for and looked forward to. By 1977, Pizza Hut had surpassed $1 billion in annual sales. They operated over 3,200 restaurants worldwide. They'd been acquired by PepsiCo, giving them enormous resources and distribution power. Their red roofs dotted suburban landscapes across America, as recognizable as McDonald's Golden Arches or KFC's Colonel Sanders. The company's business model was built on real estate and atmosphere. They needed good locations with high visibility and traffic. They needed large buildings with dining rooms, kitchens, and parking lots. They employed waitresses, cooks, dishwashers, and managers. The overhead was substantial, but the profits were strong because customers came in, sat down, ordered drinks and appetizers and desserts, and paid full price for a complete dining experience. Pizza Hut's pizzas were cooked slowly in traditional ovens, carefully prepared to maximize quality. The company took pride in their food, fresh dough made daily, sauce from a proprietary recipe, generous toppings. When you ordered a Pizza Hut pizza, you waited. Sometimes 20 minutes, sometimes 30, sometimes longer if they were busy. But that was okay. You were sitting comfortably, sipping your soda, maybe playing the jukebox. The wait was part of the experience. Delivery existed at Pizza Hut, but it was almost an afterthought. Some locations offered it, some didn't. It wasn't a focus because it wasn't necessary. People came to Pizza Hut. The red roof beckoned them. The parking lot filled up on Friday and Saturday nights with families and teenagers and couples, all seeking that comforting, familiar experience. This was Pizza Hut's kingdom, and they ruled it absolutely. No competitor came close. They had the best locations, the strongest brand, the most loyal customers. They were pizza in America. But empires fall not because they do something wrong, but because the world changes around them while they stay the same. Chapter 2. The Orphan Who Built a Delivery Machine. Tom Monahan's childhood was marked by abandonment, poverty, and institutions. Born in 1937 in Michigan, his father died when he was 4 years old. His mother, unable to cope, placed Tom and his brother in a Catholic orphanage. He spent much of his youth in foster care, bouncing between homes and institutions, never quite belonging anywhere. The experience shaped him profoundly. Monahan learned self-reliance because he had no one else to rely on. He learned to work because he had to. He learned that success came from discipline, efficiency, and relentless focus because those were the traits that got him through each day. After high school, Monahan joined the Marines. The military suited him: clear rules, measurable performance, structured routine. But he wanted more than a military career. In 1960, Monahan borrowed $500 to buy a small pizza shop called Domino's in Ypsilanti, Michigan, near Eastern Michigan University. His brother Jim initially partnered with him, but within a year, Jim traded his half of the business to Tom for a used Volkswagen Beetle. Tom was alone again, but that was how he preferred it. No partners to slow him down, no one to blame but himself if things failed. From the beginning, Monahan saw pizza differently than the Carney brothers did. He wasn't interested in creating an experience or building a dining destination. He saw pizza as a product to be manufactured efficiently and delivered quickly. His location near a college campus shaped this thinking. Students didn't want to go out, get dressed, and sit in a restaurant. They wanted food brought to their dorm rooms while they studied or partied or watched TV. Monahan's early years were brutally difficult. He worked 18-hour days, 7 days a week. He slept in the back of the shop. He experimented constantly with dough recipes, cooking times, and delivery methods. He studied every aspect of the operation, timing each task, looking for inefficiencies, searching for ways to do things faster and cheaper. In 1965, he renamed his growing business Domino's Pizza. The name was inspired by dominoes falling in sequence, one triggering another, fast and inevitable. It was also short, memorable, and easy to say over the phone, which mattered because Monahan understood that phone orders were the key to his business. Throughout the late 1960s and early 1970s, Domino's grew slowly but steadily. Monahan opened new locations near other college campuses, replicating his successful model. Each store was stripped down to essentials: just ovens, prep tables, and phones. No dining rooms, no atmosphere, no distractions. Every square foot and every dollar was devoted to making and delivering pizza as efficiently as possible. Monahan's genius was recognizing that American life was changing in ways that Pizza Hut didn't see or didn't care about. Women were entering the workforce in unprecedented numbers. Families had less time for sit-down dinners. Young people were busier, more mobile, less interested in traditional rituals. Convenience was becoming more valuable than experience. But convenience alone wasn't a strong enough differentiator. Every pizza place claimed to be convenient. Monahan needed something more dramatic, more measurable, more revolutionary. He needed a promise so bold that customers couldn't ignore it. In 1973, Domino's introduced the guarantee that would change everything. If your pizza doesn't arrive in 30 minutes, you get it free. Chapter 3. The Promise That Changed Everything. The 30-minute guarantee wasn't just a marketing slogan. It was a complete reimagining of what a pizza business could be. Most businesses made vague promises: fast service, quick delivery, we'll get it to you soon. These meant nothing because they were unmeasurable. Domino's made a specific, quantifiable commitment backed by a real penalty. Either the pizza arrived in 30 minutes, or the customer paid nothing. No excuses, no exceptions, no fine print. The psychology was brilliant. Customers loved it because the risk shifted entirely to Domino's. You weren't gambling your dinner plans on some vague promise of speed, you had a guarantee. If Domino's failed, you got free food. And if they succeeded, you got your pizza quickly. Either way, you won. But making the guarantee required transforming every aspect of the business. Domino's couldn't just promise 30 minutes. They had to deliver on it consistently, across hundreds of locations, thousands of times per day. This required operational excellence on a level that had never existed in the restaurant industry. Monahan became obsessed with time. He measured everything in seconds. How long to answer the phone? 15 seconds maximum. How long to take an order? 2 minutes. How long to stretch dough? 30 seconds. How long to add sauce? 10 seconds. How long to add cheese and toppings? 20 seconds. How long to cook? Exactly 7.5 minutes. How long to box and dispatch? 1 minute. Every task was broken down, timed, and optimized. Domino's created specialized tools and equipment to save seconds. Their pizza pans were designed for faster handling. Their ovens were engineered for precise, rapid cooking. Their sauce came in squeeze bottles that applied exactly the right amount in one quick motion. Toppings were pre-portioned into containers that could be grabbed and sprinkled instantly. The stores themselves were designed for speed. Prep stations were positioned to minimize movement. Everything a worker needed was within arm's reach. Phones were strategically located. Order tickets moved along a specific route from phone to prep to oven to boxing to delivery. The physical layout enforced efficiency. Monahan studied manufacturing techniques and applied them to pizza. He borrowed concepts from Henry Ford's assembly line, from quality control processes in factories, from time motion studies in industrial engineering. A Domino's store operated like a machine, with each employee a precisely functioning part. The delivery process received special attention because it was the hardest to control. Cooking happened in a controlled environment, but delivery meant sending drivers into traffic, bad weather, unfamiliar neighborhoods, and unpredictable situations. Domino's mapped delivery territories scientifically. Each store had a defined radius, typically 3 miles, beyond which they wouldn't deliver because the 30-minute guarantee became impossible. Within that radius, every street was mapped, every route was calculated. Drivers memorized their territories. They knew which streets had traffic, which had stop signs, which allowed left turns. The delivery vehicles were specially outfitted. Insulated bags kept pizzas hot. Car toppers made the vehicles visible and mobile advertisements. Drivers carried exact change to speed transactions. They were trained to park efficiently, run to the door, complete the transaction quickly, and return to the store for the next delivery. The pressure on drivers was immense. Every delivery was timed from the moment they left the store to the moment they returned. Slow drivers received warnings, then fewer shifts, then termination. Fast drivers were celebrated, given the best delivery areas, and held up as examples. Inside the stores, competitive pressure was constant. Managers posted delivery time charts showing each location's performance. Fast stores received recognition and rewards. Slow stores faced scrutiny and pressure to improve. The entire culture was built around speed. And it worked spectacularly. By the late 1970s, Domino's was growing explosively. Students plastered their dorm rooms with Domino's magnets and phone numbers. The sight of a Domino's car racing through a neighborhood became iconic. The company opened hundreds of new locations, each one a streamlined delivery machine focused on that 30-minute promise. Tom Monahan became wealthy beyond his childhood dreams. More importantly, he'd created something genuinely revolutionary. A business model that would influence not just pizza, but the entire delivery industry, and eventually the entire on-demand economy. But revolutions have casualties, and the 30-minute guarantee was about to create some tragic ones. Chapter 4. Pizza Hut fights back. For several years in the mid-1970s, Pizza Hut executives watched Domino's growth with a mixture of amusement and dismissal. Delivery was a niche market, they believed. College students and young people might order pizza delivered to their apartments, but families, real families with money and stability, wanted the full Pizza Hut experience. They wanted to go out, sit down, enjoy themselves. The numbers from headquarters supported this belief. Pizza Hut sales continued growing throughout the 1970s. Their restaurants remained packed on weekends. Their brand recognition was unmatched. Domino's might be carving out a delivery segment, but it seemed like a separate, smaller market that didn't threaten Pizza Hut's core business. By the early 1980s, this complacency began to crack. Market research revealed troubling trends. Younger customers, people in their 20s and 30s, the next generation of pizza buyers, increasingly preferred delivery to dine-in. When surveyed about pizza, they mentioned Domino's as often as Pizza Hut, sometimes more often. Domino's brand recognition among people under 30 was skyrocketing. More concerning were the sales figures. Delivery was becoming the fastest-growing segment of the pizza market, increasing from about 10% of sales in 1970 to nearly 30% by 1983. Domino's dominated that segment almost completely, and they were opening new locations at a furious pace. 300 new stores in 1982, 400 planned for 1983. The demographic data was even more worrying. America was changing. Two-income households were becoming the norm, not the exception. Both parents working meant less time for family dinners, less time to go out to restaurants. Microwave ovens were proliferating, signaling Americans' increasing desire for speed and convenience. The traditional family dinner at a restaurant, Pizza Hut's core business, was declining as a cultural practice. By 1983, Pizza Hut's leadership faced an unavoidable conclusion. Domino's wasn't competing in a separate market. They were competing for the same customers, and they were winning the battle for the future. The decision to enter the delivery business represented an enormous strategic shift. Pizza Hut's entire operation, their real estate strategy, their staffing model, their kitchen equipment, their brand identity, was built around dine-in service. Pivoting to delivery meant fundamentally changing the business. But they had no choice. In 1984, Pizza Hut Delivery launched with massive fanfare. The company poured hundreds of millions of dollars into the initiative. They purchased delivery vehicles, hired drivers, installed new phone systems, and redesigned kitchen workflows to accommodate both dine-in and delivery orders simultaneously. The marketing campaign was aggressive and pointed. Pizza Hut's commercials directly attacked Domino's, contrasting Pizza Hut's quality with Domino's speed. One memorable commercial showed a Domino's pizza arriving quickly, then cut to disappointed faces as people bit into a mediocre, skimpy pizza. The voiceover intoned, "Some things are worth waiting for," before showing a gorgeous Pizza Hut pizza with steam rising from generous, perfectly cooked toppings. Another commercial featured a family calling Domino's, being told their pizza would arrive in 30 minutes. The family then called Pizza Hut, was told it would take 40 minutes, and said, "That's fine, we want the good pizza." The message was clear. Pizza Hut was better, and 10 extra minutes was a small price for quality. Domino's fired back immediately. Their commercials emphasized their heritage and expertise. "We've been delivering pizza for 25 years. Pizza Hut just started. Who do you trust to do it right?" One ad showed a Pizza Hut driver hopelessly lost, checking a map, while a Domino's driver confidently navigated the same neighborhood. The advertising war escalated throughout the mid-1980s. Both companies spent tens of millions on television commercials, radio ads, and print campaigns. The tone became increasingly aggressive, with each chain taking more direct shots at the other. Beyond advertising, the competition played out in local markets with remarkable intensity. In college towns, both chains distributed coupons in dorms and sponsored campus events. In suburban neighborhoods, they opened locations across the street from each other, their signs competing for attention. Price wars erupted, 2-for-1 deals, free sides, discount coupons flooding mailboxes. The media loved the conflict. Business magazines wrote features about the pizza wars. Marketing professors taught case studies about Pizza Hut versus Domino's competitive positioning. Local news segments taste-tested pizzas from both chains and reported on the results like sports scores. For consumers, the war was fantastic. Competition drove prices down and service up. Both companies innovated constantly, introducing new products, new deals, new conveniences. Americans were eating more pizza than ever, and they were enjoying unprecedented choice and value. But beneath the marketing spectacle, something more fundamental was happening. The war was forcing both companies to become more efficient, more innovative, more customer-focused. Pizza Hut had to learn delivery logistics and speed. Domino's had to improve their pizza quality to counter Pizza Hut's attacks. The competition was making both companies better. It was also, unfortunately, making delivery drivers drive faster, take more risks, and push harder to meet the 30-minute guarantee that was becoming an industry obsession. Chapter 5. The Speed Trap. Young people loved working as Domino's delivery drivers, at least at first. The job offered flexibility. You could work evenings and weekends around classes or other commitments. It seemed easy, just drive around delivering pizzas. The tips could be decent, especially on busy Friday and Saturday nights. And there was something appealing about the independence of it, driving around town, listening to music, being out of the store between deliveries. Michael was typical. A 21-year-old college student in St. Louis, he started delivering for Domino's in 1986 to help pay tuition. His training consisted of a few hours shadowing an experienced driver, learning the delivery territory, and being told repeatedly about the importance of the 30-minute guarantee. Get it there in 30 minutes or it's free, his manager emphasized. That's what we promise. That's what makes us Domino's. Fast or free. Got it. Michael got it. For the first few weeks, he followed all the traffic laws carefully. He stopped at every stop sign, waited for every red light, stayed within speed limits. His delivery times averaged about 35 minutes. After his third shift, his manager pulled him aside. "You're too slow, Mike. I've got other drivers doing 3 deliveries in the time you're doing 2. You need to speed up." "I'm going as fast as I can," Michael protested. "Are you stopping at every stop sign?" "Well, yeah." The manager looked at him with exasperation. "Mike, do you want to keep this job? Because slow drivers don't last here. Fast drivers make more money, get more hours, and don't get complained about. Your choice." Michael understood the implicit message. Over the next few weeks, he learned the tricks that experienced drivers used. He learned which stop signs he could roll through when traffic was light. He learned which routes avoided traffic lights. He learned to drive 15 miles per hour over the speed limit, figuring that cops rarely stopped you for that. He learned to park illegally, in fire zones, in front of hydrants, in loading zones, because the few seconds saved were worth the occasional ticket. He wasn't alone. Every Domino's driver learned the same lessons. The 30-minute guarantee created an impossible pressure. Deliver fast or lose your job, make free pizza cost the store money, disappoint customers who expected Domino's famous speed. The math was brutal. From the time a customer called to place an order, here's how the 30 minutes broke down. 2 minutes to take the order, 2 minutes to make the pizza, 7.5 minutes to cook it, 1 minute to box it and get it to the driver. That left about 17 minutes for the actual delivery. 17 minutes to drive to the address, find parking, get to the door, complete the transaction, and return to the store for the next delivery. 17 minutes might seem adequate, but it wasn't. Traffic happened. Customers gave wrong addresses. Apartment buildings were confusing. People took time answering their doors. Payment was slow when customers needed to find cash or write checks. Every delay ate into that 17-minute window. And if the delivery took longer than 30 minutes, consequences followed immediately. The customer got a free pizza, costing the store money. The driver got blamed, even though many delays were beyond their control. The store's average delivery time statistics suffered, bringing criticism from district managers. The driver's hours might be cut next week. So drivers drove fast. Really fast. They took risks. They ran yellow lights that were turning red. They changed lanes aggressively. They tailgate. They drove in bad weather with less caution than they should have. They glanced at maps while driving. They looked at house numbers instead of watching the road. Accidents were inevitable. Fender benders happened regularly. Domino's drivers sideswiping parked cars, rear-ending vehicles, cutting off other drivers who had to slam on brakes. Most went unreported because drivers feared losing their jobs. They paid for minor repairs themselves or just drove vehicles with dents and scratches. More serious accidents happened too. Drivers ran red lights and caused collisions. They hit pedestrians in crosswalks while speeding through neighborhoods. They lost control on wet or icy roads while driving too fast. The company received reports of these accidents. Insurance claims piled up. Local police departments in some cities noted an unusual number of traffic violations by Domino's drivers. But internally, the pressure to maintain the 30-minute guarantee remained paramount. It was the foundation of the business model, the core promise to customers, the key differentiator against Pizza Hut. Store managers faced their own impossible dilemma. Corporate headquarters demanded fast delivery times. Customers expected the 30-minute guarantee. But managers also knew that pushing drivers too hard created risks. They tried to maintain a delicate balance, emphasizing speed but also reminding drivers to be safe, pushing for fast times but also warning against recklessness. It was an impossible balance, and everyone involved knew it. The 30-minute guarantee created an inherent conflict between safety and speed. As long as the guarantee existed, drivers would feel pressure to drive dangerously. The system was designed to produce exactly the behavior that everyone claimed to want to prevent. Tom Monahan, building his delivery empire, insisted that drivers should be safe. Company policy explicitly stated that no delivery was worth an accident, that safety came first, that drivers should follow all traffic laws. But everyone understood these were legal protections, not actual expectations. The actions spoke louder than words. Fast drivers got rewarded, slow drivers got fired. Stores with faster delivery times received praise, stores with slower times faced criticism. By the late 1980s, the accident statistics were becoming impossible to ignore. Insurance companies raised rates for pizza delivery operations dramatically. Some municipalities considered special regulations targeting delivery guarantees. Consumer advocacy groups began raising concerns. And then came the tragedy that would change everything. Chapter 6. The accident that ended an era. December 1988. A cold Saturday evening in St. Louis. Domino's driver Jean Rhodes, 21 years old, had been on shift for 5 hours. She'd completed 17 deliveries, racing around the city in her battered Honda Civic with its distinctive Domino's car topper. Her 18th delivery was running late. The order had taken extra time because the store was slammed. Saturday nights were always the busiest. By the time Jean left the store, she had only 14 minutes to make a delivery that typically took 15 minutes in good conditions. She drove fast, faster than she should have, pushing through yellow lights and accelerating hard between stops. She was approaching an intersection when her light turned yellow. She was perhaps 100 feet away, going 45 miles per hour in a 30-mile-per-hour zone. She could have stopped. The light was yellow long enough. But stopping meant the delivery would definitely be late, would definitely be free, would definitely result in her manager's disappointment. So she accelerated, trying to make it through before the light turned red. She didn't. The light turned red when she was halfway through the intersection. Another car, driven by a 43-year-old social worker named Linda Anderson, entered the intersection from the cross street with a green light. Linda had no reason to expect anyone to run the red light. She never saw Jean's car coming. The collision was devastating. Jean's car struck Linda's vehicle on the driver's side at high speed. Both cars spun violently, struck other vehicles, and came to rest in the middle of the intersection. Bystanders rushed to help, calling 911, pulling people from wreckage. Jean survived with a broken arm and lacerations. Linda Anderson suffered catastrophic brain injuries. Paramedics rushed her to the hospital, where doctors fought desperately to save her life. She survived, but the injuries were permanent. She would never work again, never live independently again, never be the same person she'd been before some delivery driver ran a red light racing to deliver a pizza in under 30 minutes. The accident would have been tragic regardless of context. Any serious accident causes ripples of suffering through families and communities. But this accident had a specific cause that elevated it beyond a random tragedy. Jean Rhodes hadn't been driving recklessly for fun or out of malice. She'd been driving recklessly because her employer's business model created direct incentives to do exactly that. Linda Anderson's family hired attorneys who specialized in personal injury litigation. As they investigated, they uncovered a troubling pattern. This wasn't an isolated incident. It was a predictable consequence of a systematic policy. Domino's knew their 30-minute guarantee created pressure on drivers to speed. They knew accidents were happening. They knew drivers were being taught, explicitly or implicitly, to violate traffic laws to meet the deadline. And they'd done nothing substantial to change the system because the 30-minute guarantee was too profitable to abandon. The attorneys obtained internal Domino's documents that revealed the company tracked accident rates and knew they were elevated. They found training materials that emphasized speed over safety. They interviewed former managers who testified about the pressure put on drivers. They found other victims of Domino's driver accidents, dozens of them, cases that had been settled quietly to avoid publicity. The lawsuit went to trial in 1991. The Anderson family's attorneys argued that Domino's was negligent in maintaining a policy they knew created dangerous incentives. Domino's attorneys countered that Jean Rhodes was an individual driver who made a bad choice, that company policy explicitly required following all traffic laws, that Domino's couldn't be held responsible for every employee's actions. The jury deliberated for 2 days. They found Domino's liable and awarded Linda Anderson's family $78 million in damages, one of the largest personal injury awards in Missouri history. The message was clear. Corporations cannot incentivize dangerous behavior and then disclaim responsibility when the predictable consequences occur. The verdict made national news. Suddenly, the 30-minute guarantee that had built Domino's empire became a liability being scrutinized across America. Other lawsuits followed, victims of other accidents caused by Domino's drivers racing to meet the deadline. Media coverage intensified. News segments featured accident victims. Consumer advocacy groups called for government intervention. Insurance companies refused to cover delivery operations with time guarantees. Pizza Hut, watching from the sidelines, quietly emphasized safety in their own delivery training and avoided making any specific time promises in their marketing. They recognized that Domino's had created a legal and PR nightmare, and they had no intention of following them into it. Tom Monahan faced the most difficult decision of his career. The 30-minute guarantee was his creation, his revolutionary insight, the foundation of Domino's success. It had built the company from nothing into a delivery powerhouse. It had made him wealthy and famous. It was, in many ways, his identity. But it was also destroying lives and threatening to destroy the company he'd built. Chapter 7. Abandoning the Dream. The debate inside Domino's corporate headquarters was intense and painful. Some executives argued that the 30-minute guarantee was too valuable to abandon. It was Domino's core differentiator, the reason customers chose them over Pizza Hut. Removing it would be surrendering the very thing that made Domino's special. Others argued that the liability was unsustainable. The lawsuits were multiplying. The awards were enormous. Insurance was becoming prohibitively expensive. The PR damage was severe. Continuing the policy risked not just money but the entire company. Tom Monahan struggled deeply with the decision. He genuinely believed in the 30-minute guarantee, not as a cynical profit mechanism, but as a promise to customers that Domino's took seriously. He'd built his entire operational philosophy around speed and efficiency. The guarantee had forced Domino's to become excellent at logistics, to innovate constantly, to measure and improve everything. But he also couldn't ignore the human cost. Linda Anderson wasn't a statistic. She was a real person whose life had been destroyed. There were others too, people hurt or killed because drivers felt pressure to meet the 30-minute deadline. However much Monahan might argue that company policy required safety, the reality was undeniable. The guarantee created incentives that led to dangerous driving. In 1993, Domino's officially discontinued the 30-minute guarantee in the United States. The announcement was carefully worded to emphasize safety while minimizing any admission of wrongdoing. Domino's has always cared deeply about our drivers and the communities we serve. While we remain committed to fast delivery, we're eliminating the 30-minute guarantee to remove any pressure, real or perceived, that might encourage unsafe driving. Many business analysts predicted this would be catastrophic for Domino's. The guarantee was so central to their brand identity that some questioned whether the company could survive without it. Stock prices dropped. Franchise owners worried about sales declines. Employees wondered if Domino's could compete with Pizza Hut now that their signature promise was gone. But something surprising happened. Domino's barely missed a beat. By 1993, Domino's had already established such strong brand recognition and customer loyalty that the explicit guarantee was almost unnecessary. People still called Domino's when they wanted pizza delivered quickly because Domino's had proven for 20 years that they were fast. The guarantee might have initially attracted customers, but it was the consistent execution that kept them coming back. Moreover, Domino's continued delivering pizzas in approximately 30 minutes. They just stopped promising it explicitly. All the operational efficiencies, all the logistics optimization, all the emphasis on speed remained part of the company culture. Drivers still delivered quickly, but without a specific time requirement and without the threat of giving away free pizzas if they were a few minutes late. The pressure valve was released. Drivers could still be fast without feeling they had to be reckless. Managers could still emphasize efficiency without creating a dangerous culture. Domino's could still be the fast delivery option without bearing legal liability for incentivizing dangerous behavior. Pizza Hut's executives watched this transition with mixed feelings. They'd hoped the loss of the guarantee would devastate Domino's, creating an opening for Pizza Hut delivery to capture market share. But Domino's emerged relatively unscathed, adapting to the new reality without losing their essential identity. The 30-minute war, at least the phase defined by explicit time guarantees, was over. But the underlying competition between Pizza Hut and Domino's continued, evolving into new forms as the 1990s brought new technologies and new challenges. Chapter 8. The Technology Revolution. The 1990s brought personal computers, the internet, and cell phones, technologies that would transform every industry, including pizza delivery. Both Pizza Hut and Domino's recognized that the next competitive battleground wouldn't be primarily about advertising or even operational efficiency, but about technology. Domino's, having built their entire business around delivery logistics, saw technology as a natural extension of their existing strengths. In 1994, they deployed computer systems in stores that dramatically improved order accuracy and speed. Instead of writing orders by hand and relying on memory, employees entered orders directly into computers that displayed information on screens in the kitchen. It reduced errors, eliminated illegible handwriting, and provided data that could be analyzed to improve operations. By 1996, Domino's began experimenting with online ordering. The internet was still relatively new. Most Americans didn't have reliable home connections, and e-commerce was in its infancy. But Domino's saw the potential. If customers could order without calling, without waiting on hold, without explaining their address and order over the phone, it would eliminate a major bottleneck while improving accuracy. Pizza Hut, backed by PepsiCo's resources, made their own technological investments. In 1994, they launched PizzaHut.com, one of the first restaurant websites. In 1996, they claimed to have processed the first-ever internet pizza order, a claim that was partly marketing hyperbole, but signaled their commitment to being seen as innovative and tech-forward. The competition to be first, to be most innovative, to be most tech-savvy became intense. Both companies raced to develop better online ordering systems, better mobile apps, better ways for customers to interact with their brands through digital channels. Domino's pursued technology with particular intensity. In 2007, they launched a sophisticated online ordering system that let customers build their pizzas visually, dragging and dropping toppings onto an image of a pizza. It was intuitive and even fun, almost like a game. By 2008, more than half of Domino's orders were coming through digital channels. But the real breakthrough came in 2008 with the Pizza Tracker, a system that showed customers exactly where their order was in the preparation and delivery process. You could watch in real time as your pizza moved from preparation to baking to quality check to out for delivery. It was brilliant psychology. Even if delivery took 35 minutes, watching the tracker made the wait feel shorter because you had transparency and constant updates. The Pizza Tracker became one of Domino's most successful innovations. Customers loved it. It reduced anxiety about when food would arrive. It gave them something to do while waiting. and it reinforced Domino's brand identity as the technologically sophisticated delivery expert. Pizza Hut countered with their own technology initiatives, apps, loyalty programs, social media integration. But they faced a structural challenge. They still operated many traditional restaurant locations, which meant their technology investments had to serve the 30-minute war, continued. Both delivery and dine-in customers. Domino's, focused almost exclusively on delivery and carryout, could optimize everything for those channels. By 2010, the technology gap was becoming significant. Domino's processed over half their orders digitally. Pizza Hut's digital penetration lagged behind. More importantly, Domino's had cultivated a reputation as a technology company that happened to sell pizza, while Pizza Hut remained perceived primarily as a traditional restaurant chain trying to modernize. This perception mattered enormously. Younger customers, millennials entering their prime spending years, valued convenience and technology. They wanted to order from their phones, track deliveries, avoid human interaction when possible. Domino's spoke their language. Pizza Hut felt increasingly like their parents' pizza place. The divergence extended beyond customer-facing technology. Domino's invested heavily in back-end systems that optimized logistics, inventory management, and operations. They used data analytics to predict demand, optimize staffing, and reduce waste. They tested GPS tracking for delivery vehicles to improve routing. They experimented with voice recognition systems for phone orders. Tom Monahan had retired from day-to-day operations in 1998, selling most of his stake in the company. New leadership, particularly CEO Patrick Doyle, who took over in 2010, accelerated the technological transformation. Doyle explicitly positioned Domino's as an e-commerce company that sells pizza, rather than a pizza company with e-commerce capabilities. This wasn't just rhetoric, it was strategic repositioning that guided every decision. When faced with choices about where to invest, Domino's consistently chose technology over traditional restaurant capabilities. They spent money on apps and algorithms rather than dining rooms and atmosphere. Pizza Hut, meanwhile, struggled with strategic identity. Were they a restaurant chain or a delivery company? Their dual nature created advantages. They could serve customers who wanted either experience, but also created disadvantages in competing with focused competitors. Their costs were higher because they maintained expensive dining rooms. Their operations were more complex because they had to excel at two very different business models simultaneously. Chapter 9. The Great Reinvention. By 2008, Domino's faced a different kind of crisis. The 30-minute guarantee was long gone, their technology was improving, their delivery logistics were excellent, but customers hated their pizza. Market research was devastating. In blind taste tests, Domino's ranked at or near the bottom among major pizza chains. Customer reviews online were brutal: cardboard with ketchup, the worst pizza I've ever had, only acceptable when drunk at 2 a.m. Food bloggers mocked Domino's pizza mercilessly. The brand that had revolutionized pizza delivery had become synonymous with low-quality food. The problem was rooted in Domino's obsessive focus on speed and efficiency. Over decades, they'd optimized every aspect of operations to make pizza faster and cheaper. The dough recipe was designed for easy, quick preparation, not taste. The sauce was formulated for long shelf life and fast application, not flavor. The cheese was chosen for consistent melting and cost efficiency, not quality. Every ingredient decision, every recipe choice, had prioritized operational considerations over culinary ones. For years, this hadn't mattered much. Domino's competed on speed and convenience, not taste. Customers who wanted truly good pizza went to local pizzerias or upscale chains. Customers who wanted fast, cheap, reliable delivery called Domino's. Quality was adequate enough for the value proposition. But by the late 2000s, this was becoming unsustainable. The American palate was changing. Food Network, celebrity chefs, and foodie culture had made average Americans more discerning about what they ate. Organic, local, artisanal, craft, these weren't just pretentious words anymore, they were mainstream expectations. Even fast food was improving quality to meet changing consumer demands. Domino's CEO Patrick Doyle faced the problem head-on with a decision that was either brilliant or insane. They would completely reformulate their pizza recipe and admit publicly that their previous pizza wasn't good enough. The internal debate was intense. Admitting your product is bad could drive away the customers you still have rather than attracting new ones. It risked permanently damaging the brand. It was the opposite of traditional marketing, which always positioned your product as great regardless of reality. But Doyle argued that Domino's had nothing to lose. Everyone already knew their pizza was mediocre. Pretending otherwise was fooling no one. Honesty might be refreshing enough to get customers to give them another chance. In December 2009, Domino's launched the Pizza Turnaround campaign. The commercials were shockingly honest, featuring real focus group footage of customers criticizing Domino's pizza. Totally devoid of flavor. The crust tastes like cardboard. Worst excuse for pizza I've ever had. The ad showed Domino's employees watching this feedback, looking genuinely hurt and disappointed. "We've heard you," the voiceover said. "And we're sorry. But we've been working, really working, to make a better pizza. We've changed everything. New crust, new sauce, new cheese. We think you're going to love it. But we know we have to earn back your trust." The new recipe was substantially different. The crust had garlic butter baked into it. The sauce used better tomatoes and more herbs. The cheese was a higher quality blend. The difference was noticeable immediately. This was legitimately better pizza, not just marketing spin. The campaign was risky and unconventional, but it worked spectacularly. Sales increased dramatically. Customer perception improved significantly. Media coverage was extensive and mostly positive. Journalists praised Domino's for their honesty and willingness to admit mistakes. The brand that had been mocked for poor quality suddenly had a redemption narrative that Americans love. More importantly, Domino's proved they could innovate not just on operations and technology but on the product itself. The company began introducing premium ingredients, specialty pizzas, and menu items that would have been unthinkable in the old days when everything was optimized for speed above all else. Pizza Hut watched this transformation with growing concern. They'd always positioned themselves as the quality option against Domino's speed-focused approach. Now Domino's was improving quality while maintaining their operational advantages. The competitive gap was closing. Pizza Hut attempted their own reinventions, introducing new crust styles, premium toppings, and menu innovations. Their stuffed crust pizza, introduced back in 1995, had been a huge success, a genuine product innovation that competitors struggled to replicate. They tried to recapture that magic with subsequent innovations: twisted crust, pretzel crust, hot dog stuffed crust. Some worked, some didn't. But Pizza Hut faced a deeper challenge. Their brand identity was increasingly unclear. They weren't the fast delivery experts. That was Domino's. They weren't the premium pizza option. That was local pizzerias and upscale chains. They weren't the value leader. That was Little Caesars. They were caught in the middle, trying to be everything to everyone and excelling at nothing in particular. The diverging trajectories of the two companies through the 2010s reflected their different strategic choices made decades earlier. Domino's single-minded focus on delivery, inherited from Tom Monahan's original vision, allowed them to optimize everything for that channel. Pizza Hut's attempt to serve multiple markets, dine-in, delivery, different customer segments, created complexity that became increasingly difficult to manage. Chapter 10. The Dine-In Decline. Throughout the 2010s, casual dining restaurants across America faced a sustained decline. Brands like Applebee's, Chili's, Ruby Tuesday, and TGI Fridays closed hundreds of locations. The reasons were complex. Millennials eating out less, food delivery becoming ubiquitous, fast casual restaurants offering better food at lower prices, changing consumer preferences. Pizza Hut, with hundreds of traditional dine-in restaurants, was caught directly in this trend. Those red-roofed buildings that had once been assets, visible landmarks that attracted families, were becoming liabilities. The real estate was expensive. The labor costs were high. The maintenance was substantial. And fewer customers were coming in. The experience that had seemed special in the 1970s and 1980s felt dated by the 2010s. The dim lighting, the arcade games, the checkered tablecloths, these weren't charming nostalgia, they were reminders that Pizza Hut hadn't evolved with the times. Younger customers didn't want to sit in a Pizza Hut restaurant. They wanted pizza delivered to wherever they were, ordered from their phones, tracked in real time. Pizza Hut began closing dine-in locations rapidly. Between 2015 and 2020, they closed over 1,000 restaurants in the United States. Some were converted to delivery-only formats. Others were simply shuttered, their iconic red roofs eventually demolished or repurposed. Each closure was a small tragedy for communities that had memories attached to those restaurants. Parents who had celebrated birthdays there with their children decades ago drove past empty buildings and felt nostalgic for an era that was gone. The physical landscape of American suburbs was changing, and Pizza Hut's retreat was part of that transformation. Domino's, meanwhile, continued opening new locations, but their stores looked nothing like traditional restaurants. They were small, efficient, designed purely for carry-out and delivery. Many were located in strip malls or standalone buildings with minimal signage. They didn't need visibility or ambience. Customers ordered from their phones before ever seeing the store. By 2018, Domino's had surpassed Pizza Hut in global sales to become the world's largest pizza company. It was a remarkable reversal. The scrappy underdog that had challenged the dominant empire with a 30-minute guarantee had ultimately won the war, not through speed anymore, but through relentless focus, technological innovation, and operational excellence. Tom Monahan, watching from retirement, must have felt vindicated. His vision, pizza as a product to be delivered efficiently rather than an experience to be consumed in restaurants, had proven correct. The future of pizza was delivery, and Domino's had built the business model for that future decades before most competitors recognized it. Chapter 11. The Third-Party Disruption. Just as Domino's was reaching the peak of their dominance, a new threat emerged: third-party delivery services. Grubhub, founded in 2004, began as a simple online ordering platform. By the 2010s, they'd evolved into a full delivery service, picking up food from restaurants and delivering it to customers. DoorDash, Uber Eats, and Postmates followed similar models. Suddenly, any restaurant, even ones that had never offered delivery, could reach delivery customers through these platforms. This was potentially devastating for Domino's business model. Their core advantage had always been delivery infrastructure. They'd invested billions over decades in delivery vehicles, driver hiring and training, routing systems, and logistics. Now any restaurant could effectively rent that infrastructure by paying a commission to third-party services. Worse, customers using third-party apps could browse multiple restaurants simultaneously: pizza, Chinese, Thai, Mexican, whatever. Domino's was competing not just with other pizza chains but with every restaurant in the area. The order that might have gone to Domino's by default could now go to a local pizzeria or a completely different cuisine. Pizza Hut initially embraced third-party delivery, partnering with multiple services. It allowed them to expand delivery reach without building expensive infrastructure. But they quickly discovered the problem. They lost control over the customer experience. Delivery times depended on third-party drivers who were handling multiple orders from multiple restaurants. Food arrived cold. Orders got mixed up. Customer service issues were difficult to resolve because multiple companies were involved. More critically, third-party services owned the customer relationship. When someone ordered Pizza Hut through DoorDash, they were a DoorDash customer first, a Pizza Hut customer second. Their data went to DoorDash. Their loyalty was to the app, not the restaurant. Next time they might order from a different restaurant entirely. Domino's took a different approach. They largely refused to partner with third-party delivery services. CEO Patrick Doyle argued that delivery was Domino's core competency, their competitive advantage that they'd spent decades perfecting. Outsourcing it would mean surrendering the very thing that made Domino's special. Instead, Domino's doubled down on their own technology and delivery infrastructure. They invested even more heavily in their app, making it faster and more feature-rich than third-party alternatives. They improved their loyalty program to reward customers for ordering directly. They emphasized that Domino's drivers, driving Domino's vehicles, would deliver faster and more reliably than gig economy workers juggling multiple orders. The strategy was risky. Some customers preferred the convenience of ordering multiple restaurants through one app. Domino's was asking them to install a separate app specifically for pizza. But Domino's bet that their operational excellence would overcome this friction, that customers who wanted pizza delivered quickly and reliably would still choose Domino's directly rather than through a third party. The bet largely paid off. Domino's maintained strong sales and customer loyalty even as third-party delivery exploded. Their focus on technology meant their own app was genuinely better than third-party alternatives for ordering pizza. Their delivery infrastructure meant pizzas arrived faster and hotter than when delivered by third-party drivers. Their brand strength meant customers still thought of Domino's first when they wanted pizza delivered. Pizza Hut struggled more with this transition. Their partnerships with third-party services provided reach but eroded margins and customer relationships. Their own technology lagged behind Domino's, making their direct ordering experience less compelling. They were caught between two models, trying to work with third parties while also building their own capabilities, and excelling at neither. Chapter 12. The Pandemic Pivot. In March 2020, COVID-19 transformed American life overnight. Restaurants closed. People stayed home. The entire food service industry faced existential crisis. Except for pizza delivery. Suddenly, the business model that Domino's and Pizza Hut had been perfecting for decades was the only safe, legal way to get restaurant food. Delivery and carryout weren't just convenient, they were essential. Sales at both companies exploded as Americans, stuck at home and unable to cook every meal, turned to delivery in unprecedented numbers. Domino's was particularly well-positioned. Their contactless delivery systems, developed years earlier, suddenly became critical public health measures. Their technology allowed completely touchless transactions. Order on the app, pay digitally, have the pizza left at your door. You never had to interact with another human. Pizza Hut scrambled to implement similar contactless systems. They quickly developed protocols for safe delivery, closed remaining dine-in locations temporarily, and pivoted entirely to delivery and carryout. Their previous investment in delivery infrastructure, even if it had never matched Domino's, suddenly became essential for survival. The pandemic accelerated trends that had been developing for years. Americans who had occasionally used delivery started using it constantly. People who had never ordered online were forced to learn. Older customers who had preferred calling on the phone adopted apps and websites. Behaviors that might have taken a decade to develop happened in months. Both companies hired thousands of new workers to meet surging demand. They simplified menus to increase efficiency. They optimized operations for the massive volume. They marketed their safety protocols aggressively. When the pandemic eventually subsided and restaurants reopened, the behavior changes persisted. Americans had gotten even more accustomed to delivery. The convenience that Tom Monahan had championed 50 years earlier had become fundamental to modern life. Chapter 13. Legacy and Lessons. Looking back across 5 decades of competition between Pizza Hut and Domino's, several profound lessons emerge about business, innovation, and American culture. First, the importance of focus. Domino's relentless concentration on delivery, initially with the 30-minute guarantee, later with technology and operations, allowed them to build capabilities that competitors couldn't match. Pizza Hut's attempt to serve both dine-in and delivery markets created complexity that ultimately became a liability. In business, being excellent at one thing often beats being adequate at multiple things. Second, operational excellence matters as much as product quality. For decades, Domino's succeeded despite having inferior pizza because their delivery system was superior. They understood that customers valued convenience and reliability as much as taste. Eventually they had to improve quality, but their operational foundation remained their core advantage. Third, technology can completely transform traditional industries. Both companies sold the same basic product, pizza, but their different approaches to technology created wildly different trajectories. Domino's embrace of digital ordering, tracking, and logistics optimization made them the industry leader. Pizza Hut's slower technological adoption left them struggling to keep pace. Fourth, business models designed for one era can become liabilities in another. Pizza Hut's dine-in restaurants were perfect for 1970s America. Families with time to go out for dinner, single-income households, suburban sprawl. But as American life accelerated, as both parents worked, as convenience became paramount, those same restaurants became expensive burdens. Domino's model, designed for speed and delivery, matched the emerging culture. Fifth, bold promises require careful consideration of consequences. The 30-minute guarantee built Domino's business but also created tragic outcomes when drivers felt pressure to drive dangerously. The guarantee was eventually abandoned, But the lesson remains. Marketing promises must account for systemic effects on behavior, not just individual responsibility. Sixth, honesty and transparency can be powerful marketing tools. Domino's admission that their pizza was bad, their complete recipe overhaul, and their open documentation of the change process created a redemption narrative that connected with customers. In an age of corporate spin, authentic honesty stands out. Seventh, customer needs evolve constantly. What worked in 1970 didn't work in 1990. What worked in 1990 didn't work in 2010. Both companies had to continuously adapt to changing American lifestyles, preferences, and expectations. The ones who adapted successfully thrived. The ones who clung to past successes declined. Finally, competition drives innovation that benefits everyone. The fierce rivalry between Pizza Hut and Domino's forced both companies to improve constantly. They developed better operations, better technology, better products. The innovations they pioneered, GPS routing, online ordering, delivery tracking, spread far beyond pizza to transform entire industries. Their war made pizza faster, cheaper, and more convenient for all Americans. Chapter 14. The Modern Battlefield. Today, both companies continue competing in a vastly more complex landscape than the 1980s pizza wars. The simple dichotomy of dine-in quality versus delivery speed has been replaced by multidimensional competition across technology, menu innovation, value, sustainability, and brand identity. Domino's, as of 2025, operates over 19,000 stores globally and generates over $18 billion in annual revenue. They've become a technology showcase. Their innovation lab in Ann Arbor, Michigan, develops everything from autonomous delivery vehicles to artificial intelligence systems for predicting customer orders. They've tested pizza delivery by drone, by robot, and by autonomous car. Their app includes features like voice ordering and augmented reality pizza building. CEO Russell Weiner, who took over in 2022, continues the company's technology-focused strategy while also emphasizing product quality and menu innovation. Domino's no longer has to choose between speed and quality. Their operational excellence allows both. The company's stock market performance has been extraordinary. Between 2010 and 2020, Domino's stock price increased over 3,000%, outperforming technology giants like Google, Amazon, and Apple. Investors recognized that Domino's wasn't just a pizza company. They were a technology and logistics company that happened to sell pizza. Pizza Hut, owned by Yum! Brands, which also owns KFC and Taco Bell, operates over 18,000 locations globally with revenue around $13 billion. They've largely completed their transition away from dine-in, closing most traditional red roof restaurants and focusing on delivery and carryout. Recent years have seen Pizza Hut attempting to reclaim their heritage while modernizing for contemporary customers. They've introduced nostalgic marketing campaigns referencing their 1980s glory days. They've renovated remaining dine-in locations to feel more contemporary. They've improved their digital ordering capabilities, though still trailing Domino's. Pizza Hut's challenge remains strategic positioning. They're no longer the quality alternative to Domino's, since Domino's improved their pizza. They're not the technology leader. They're not the value option. Their brand strength comes primarily from nostalgia and global recognition, which provides foundation but not growth. Both companies face new competitors that didn't exist during the original pizza wars. Fast casual pizza chains like Blaze Pizza and Mod Pizza offer customized, freshly made pizzas in minutes. Ghost kitchens, delivery-only operations with no physical restaurant, provide low-cost competition. Local pizzerias have improved their delivery capabilities. And consumers have more options than ever across all cuisines through third-party delivery apps. The competitive landscape has also expanded internationally. Both Domino's and Pizza Hut generate substantial revenue outside the United States. They compete not just against each other but against local chains and cultural preferences in dozens of countries. The strategies that work in America don't necessarily translate globally. Chapter 15. The Cultural Impact. Beyond business metrics and market share, the Pizza Hut versus Domino's war left an indelible mark on American culture. The 30-minute guarantee, even though it was abandoned 30 years ago, remains part of collective memory. People still reference it. Comedians make jokes about it. Movies and TV shows from that era featured it. An entire generation of Americans grew up expecting pizza delivery in 30 minutes and feeling disappointed when it took longer, even though the guarantee hadn't existed for decades. The war normalized food delivery in ways that extended far beyond pizza. Before Domino's proved the 30-minute delivery model could work at scale, most restaurants didn't deliver. Domino's demonstrated that Americans would pay for convenience, that delivery could be a primary business model rather than a side service. This paved the way for the entire on-demand delivery economy that emerged decades later. The competition also changed American eating habits. Pizza became casual, frequent, almost mundane, something you ordered on a Tuesday night because you didn't feel like cooking, not a special occasion food. This shift toward convenient, infrequent cooking at home has had profound implications for family dynamics, health, and food culture. The technology innovations pioneered by both companies, online ordering, real-time tracking, mobile apps, became expectations across all industries. When you order anything for delivery now, you expect to do it from your phone and track it in real time. That expectation was created largely by pizza companies competing for your dinner order. The war also shaped suburban American landscapes. Those red-roofed Pizza Huts were architectural landmarks, instantly recognizable. Many still stand, though repurposed as banks, dental offices, or other businesses. Their distinctive shape makes them identifiable even when the pizza restaurant is long gone. Future archaeologists studying American suburbs will find these buildings and understand something about late 20th century commercial architecture and food culture. The marketing from this era, the commercials, the slogans, the jingles, became part of popular culture. Avoid the Noid, Domino's mascot representing delivery problems, entered common language. Pizza Hut's Make It Great slogan, their various promotional tie-ins with movies and sports, their Book It program encouraging children to read, these marketing initiatives touched millions of American lives. Epilogue: The War That Never Ends. On this Tuesday in October 2025, the war that began over 50 years ago continues, though in forms that Tom Monahan and the Carney brothers never could have imagined. The 30-minute guarantee is gone, but its legacy persists in Americans' expectation of instant gratification. The dine-in Pizza Hut restaurants are mostly closed, but memories of birthday parties and family dinners in those red-roofed buildings remain. The simple competition between quality and speed has evolved into complex multi-dimensional warfare across technology, operations, marketing, and product innovation. Neither company won decisively. Domino's leads in market share and technology, but Pizza Hut retains global presence and brand recognition. Both have survived and adapted through massive cultural and technological changes. Both continue innovating, competing, and evolving. The real winners were American consumers, who benefited from decades of fierce competition that drove both companies to improve constantly. Pizza became faster, cheaper, better, and more convenient because Pizza Hut and Domino's fought so aggressively for market share. The real losers were the delivery drivers who felt pressure to drive dangerously and the victims of accidents caused by 30-minute deadline pressures. Linda Anderson and others paid a terrible price for an innovation that made millions of pizzas arrive a few minutes faster. The war also foreshadowed broader changes in American life. Our acceleration, our prioritization of convenience over experience, our increasing reliance on technology to mediate basic activities like eating. The Pizza Hut versus Domino's battle was never just about pizza. It was about what kind of country we were becoming, what we valued, how we wanted to live. Looking back, we can see the 30-minute war as a microcosm of late 20th and early 21st century American capitalism. Intense competition driving innovation, creating both tremendous value and real harm, transforming industries and culture, moving faster and faster until speed itself became the point. When you order pizza tonight, whether from Domino's, Pizza Hut, or somewhere else entirely, it will arrive in about 30 minutes. No one guarantees that anymore. No one has to. The war was won. The expectation was set. The world was changed. And somewhere, a delivery driver is racing through your neighborhood, not because of any explicit deadline, but because the culture of speed that the 30-minute war created never really ended. It just became invisible, internalized, automatic. The war continues. The pizza arrives. Life accelerates. And America keeps ordering delivery, 30 minutes at a time.